was received like a bad smell in a gym shower room. A blog post on the PlayStation website from the game's creator explains this kawaii boba jiggle game.
It's okay, I didn't mean to scare you.
The Sony State of Play finally happened, and it's left fans wondering what in the world Sony is up to. In this video, we're going to talk about everything we saw at the State of Play, talk about just why Sony's State of Play was a huge disappointment and failed to impress us. Here's a hint, where are the games? Out of the 35-minute long showcase, Sony spent 11 of those minutes giving us more details about the game Concord. Concord essentially just looks like Destiny PvP with a sprinkle of Overwatch and Apex Legends.
There are healing pads, bullet blocking domes, explosive traps, lane blocking walls, all kinds of ways to support your team or disrupt your enemies.
The description for the game says you get to take on rival free-gunner crews in daring space heists in 6 different online 5v5 PvP modes across a variety of exotic and fantastical maps that span the different planets of the ever-expanding Concord galaxy. Pre-orders for Concord start on June 6 and the game launches August 23rd, but something seems super off about this short window considering this is the first we're properly hearing about the game. It looks very generic, so I would err on the side of caution on this one because it could very well be another dead-on-arrival generic shooter. Sony then dedicated a nice chunk of time to telling us God of War Ragnarok was coming to PC. Sony are clearly starting to aim these events more at a PC audience because PlayStation console owners have already played Ragnarok by this point, and this could have just been a trailer released on their YouTube channel or part of the PC gaming show at Summer Game Fest. If they expected die-hard PlayStation players to get excited for this, something has gone wrong with their strategy. We also saw Dynasty Warriors Origins, which looks like another Dynasty Warriors game. And while they were fun and super unique back in the days of the PlayStation 2, the series has now grown stale and just isn't as impressive as it once was. The last game in the series, 2018's Dynasty Warriors 9, was received like a bad smell in a gym shower room. IGN gave it 5.8 out of 10, and on top of all that, it's not even coming out until 2025? Later in this video, you'll see how this is becoming a trend that shows just how bad things have gotten in the barren landscape of PlayStation. But first, Infinity Nikki is the latest in the Nikki game series that I've admittedly never heard of before. That's probably because while the trailer would lead you to believe it's some kind of JRPG, it's actually a dress-up game. Yes, I'm serious. A blog post on the PlayStation website from the game's creator explains this kawaii boba jiggle game in more detail, stating that the aim is to solve puzzles and go on adventures in a relaxing fantasy world. Oh, and dress up Nikki. Don't forget to dress up Nikki. I can't really comment on whether this one looks good or not because I don't, in fact, want to play a dress-up game, but thumbs up for the Bob. Tipsworks, the studio behind the 2020 action RPG Pascal's Wager, has revealed Ballad of Antara, a free-to-play Souls-like game coming to PS5 in, you guessed it, 2025. In case you don't know, Pascal's Wager is a Souls-like known for having a huge, fleshed-out RPG world with a premium price tag instead of opting for the usual free-to-play model. It fared decently on mobile, but its worldwide launch on PC and Switch saw mixed to bad reviews. This time around, Ballad of Antara is a free-to-play game, even though Tipsworks studio head Yang Yang describes it as a new IP created with the highest fidelity. For this new IP, we set out to create a vast world, both in geological scale and cultural variation. In the normal version of this world, common folk reside, Yang says on the PlayStation blog. In another version of this world, peculiar sightings and encounters await. We call this unimaginable part of the world Para. Fundamental essences of the living world are taken away and trapped inside the Para from the invasion of an ancient power, and that's where our story begins. Frankly, Ballad of Antara looks like another JRPG game, so we'll see what happens. Sony also showed us 2 PSVR 2 games, Behemoth and Alien Rogue Incursion. Behemoth looks kinda cool and reminds me of Skyrim, while Alien Rogue Incursion is just Alien Isolation in VR. These titles exhibit just why Sony is off the mark with its messaging. Let me explain. I have a MetaQuest, and it's cool, but I hardly touch it because it's such a pain to set up. Move furniture so you don't punch a light, thanks Edison, and then deal with the inevitable nausea and exhaustion that comes from too much time dancing around in VR. These issues aside, the PSVR 2 is almost the same price as the console itself, which is a hard pill to swallow, especially in this economy. Reports show that shipments and sales of the PSVR 2 have declined every quarter since it was released. Q4 2023 reportedly saw as little as 325,000 units shipped, down from almost 600,000 in Q1 of the same year, a drop of almost 50%. So, like with PC, Sony is catering to its lowest common denominator here because, as we'll see later in the video, they really have no other cards to play. Marvel Rivals is perhaps one of the most exciting games at the state of play. Marvel Heroes is a hero shooter developed and published by NetEase Games in collaboration with Marvel Games. The game will be free to play with a current lineup of characters from Marvel Comics and the Marvel Universe. It's once again a 6v6 PvP shooter where you have to complete various objectives in different game modes. Heroes are split into 3 distinct roles based on their unique power and inclinations: Vanguard, Duelist, and Strategist. One cool point about Marvel Rivals is that it features full environmental destruction, and it has maps from all over the Marvel timeline, like Odin's Royal Palace and Tokyo 2099 from Spider-Man. Some content creators have already got access to the game, and it's positive news on this front. I've watched Jack Fragg's video and he seems pretty impressed with the game, saying it plays like Overwatch but not from Activision Blizzard, so it's not an absolute trash fire. Well, he didn't say that last part. Marvel Rivals is set to go into a closed beta test on PlayStation 5 in July of 2024. Where Winds Meet has been in development for 5 years. According to the developer, it's an epic wuxia open-world action-adventure RPG game. Confused? Me too. Apparently, wuxia is a genre of fiction and cinema featuring warriors from ancient China, often shown using superhuman martial arts feats, and think movies like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Your character has mystical powers that allows them to run up sheer cliff faces or across the surface of water, as well as being able to breathe fire on their enemies and other insane martial arts turned up to 11 moves. Where Winds Meet is set in the period of Chinese history known as the 5 Dynasties and 10 Kingdoms. It looks kind of like a Chinese-themed Sekiro. I'm intrigued, but this one doesn't have an even tentative release date. It simply says in development now for PS5, which means we're likely years away, think 2026 or beyond at this point. They announced an Until Dawn remaster on PS5 and PC, and it's simply lackluster. Again, this shows how Sony is now aiming outside its own ecosystem with its marketing. This release is good for PC-only players, but most all PlayStation players have played this before because it's even been in PlayStation Plus catalogue of games. It didn't exactly look ugly the first time either, so there's not really a point in spending money on this. And I say that as someone who loves a graphical overhaul. Path of Exile 2 is the follow-up to the Diablo-like free-to-play action RPG game from Grinding Gear Games. While the first Path of Exile was on PS4, they're making a big shout and dance about crossplay and couch co-op this time around. This will allow players to team up across platforms and even play old school style in the same room. The first Path of Exile was good, and if you're a fan of these games, then you don't have long to wait until the late 2024 early access begins. Okay, this is the big one, Silent Hill 2. We've been waiting for what seems like an eternity to find out more details and get our hands on this game. Konami have announced that Silent Hill 2 will launch on October 8th, and while that might sound like a good thing, after the trailer, I can only say that, as Dreamcast guy pointed out, something seems very off about the remake. I first noticed this during the start of the trailer, where James's speech seems to be slightly out of sync with his lips when he's talking.
It's okay, I didn't mean to scare you.
Then you have the strangely stiff animations and character movement. The trailer also focused a lot on combat, which is something Silent Hill is not known for. Overall, I got a lot of Resident Evil remake vibes from the Silent Hill 2 trailer. We haven't heard a lot about how faithful this remake will be to the original until now. Bloober Team creative director Matoush said the following: "The setting of some events may change, but their impact on the story will remain the same. Even when new locations are introduced, we've sought to refer to the original whenever possible, so that returning players will feel right at home when they venture out into the foggy streets of Silent Hill again." The game director also said that great care is being given to showcasing characters' emotions with motion capture technology, and that the puzzles in the game have been slightly altered to present a new spin on their original designs. So it seems like Bloober Team will be taking some liberties with the game, but to what extent this annoys series veterans is yet to be seen. Buying the deluxe edition of Silent Hill 2 gives you 48-hour early access to the game, so it's clear they're targeting veteran fans of the series wanting to get access as soon as possible. My recommendation is to not buy this edition unless you want the extra mask that's included, because there will likely be day one patches and updates, and this is Bloober Team after all. And that leads me to why things just don't feel right. Bloober Team. Konami has a terrible history of remastering games badly, with the latest Metal Gear Solid Master Collection being a letdown for fans. The company outsourced the development and the remasters of 2 and 3, and they were straight rip-offs from the PS3 and 360 versions of those games. Now they've placed Silent Hill 2 in the hands of Bloober Team. They have a track record of interesting but middle-of-the-road games like The Medium, Blair Witch and Observer, but these games have all suffered from terrible performance or a lack of polish in one way or another, and their products have always been more of a focused entertainment AA style. So we haven't got long to wait until Silent Hill 2, but I'm not going to be letting myself get hyped for this one until more people get their hands on it, just in case it all goes wrong. Sony also showed Monster Hunter Wilds, which is just more Monster Hunter and comes out in 2025. Then, they showed the controversial Astrobot. No doubt because of the popularity of Astro's Playroom, which is bundled with every PS5 console, Sony have now developed a game that expands on that formula and has Astrobot exploring all kinds of new worlds, with new mechanics like flying, suctioning, and punching with a springy arm, like in that Switch game ARMS. Thanks to its fun-looking gameplay, stylish graphical design, and foot-tapping soundtrack, I was excited. Sony had me in their clutches. They had redeemed themselves for a bad state of play. But then something hit me. This sure doesn't look like it'll be a free game. And it's not. Conveniently, Sony decided to tell us it was coming to PS5 on September 6 in the trailer, but buried at the bottom of their blog post is a sentence mentioning pre-orders. And upon further investigation, I discovered that Astrobot will be a full price release. And that was the nail in the coffin of the Sony state of play for me. Like a dealer pushing product for free to then gain customers in the future, Sony gave us a great taste of Astrobot and Astro's Playroom, and then reeled our money in for Astrobot. So, in the end, Sony's state of play has ended up more like a state of emergency. Any decent looking game is either not coming out until some random time in 2025, or it's made by anyone other than Sony. Strangely for a state of play, we didn't hear anything about any first party PS5 games other than Astrobot. As we found in another video, Phil Spencer and Xbox are having one hell of a time keeping fans excited right now, but after that terrible direct, it seems like Sony isn't far behind. I mean, where are the games? What exclusives are we going to play on the PS5 in the next year? What is the actual point of owning a PS5 right now? Maybe we'll see more during Summer Game Fest, but right now things are looking bleak for Sony. That's all I have for you today. Leave me a comment down below letting me know your thoughts on the state of play and whether you agree or disagree with my analysis. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.